in the beautiful city of Guadalajara, Mexico, where people have shown for many centuries the Catholic faith and love for the Holy Mass, has been growing in some people thanks to the priestly fraternity of St. Peter, who arrived in this city to expand the traditional Latin Mass.
For a number of years now, the development of our apostolate in Latin America has really been a priority for the priestly fraternity of St. Peter. We've had a priest for the last 8 years just outside of Bogota in Colombia, and now we have 2 apostolates in Mexico City and in Guadalajara, where we've been able to have priests to begin a parochial life for the faithful who are there. Latin America has always been an important place, simply according to the number of faithful who are there, the number who have tried to contact us and who have been anxious to have these riches of the liturgy which are presented by the extraordinary form to become available to them and the full parochial life that goes along with it. When one visits, one's really struck by the devotion which is there. It's even a bit like here in Fribourg or in Italy, in Europe, the equivalent would be, where you have many of the different cultural elements which are still there. You see the beautiful processions, for example, in Guadalajara with Our Lady of Zapopan, and you see the faithful traditions which are still there. But oftentimes underneath it, there's a lack of the catechesis which ought to be there, knowledge of the faith which needs to be passed on. And oftentimes the foundation which is really there is rather weak, as we've seen by the numbers, including who have left the church. We're grateful to God for the number of vocations that we've had in the last years with men entering both in Europe and at our seminary in North America. It's a great gift, of course, to be able to still have these vocations and have them increasingly growing from year to year. It's also given us a certain need, of course, as well, as we see more men who are entering who come from that have Spanish as a first language, who want to study in the seminary, who find it difficult to make the move to an English-speaking seminary or a French or a German-speaking seminary. This is why we really have as a priority to begin a house of formation, to take a first step to really beginning a full house of formation within Latin America, so that these men who have a strong priestly vocation and who are looking to carry it out in a society of apostolic life like our own will have a place which is not only closer to home, but will be more easily able to discern, because that discernment process will take place in their own language. And of course, we'll be able to learn more because, again, the studies are in their own language. So really our priority in a house of formation comes when we see the need because of the vocations which are presented to us. So as long as God in His providence continues to provide those vocations and those men who are calling to have it, we feel a need certainly to answer that call and to respond as generously as we can on our part to form the men who can later form those who are in the seminary and to provide the other material aspects which are necessary.
I'm Father Kenneth Pryor. I was ordained in the Fraternity of St. Peter in 2004. And in 2009 I was assigned to Guadalajara, which is our first apostolate here in Mexico. And we have now a very thriving community with lots of new faithful, and we've been moved to another church downtown where there's more access. Last year I was sent to Mexico City, and we have also there a church serving a much smaller community at this point. But in other parts of the country there are many other groups of people who are seeking this rite of Mass, which Pope Benedict had made more available, and therefore more people are interested. And once they see the Mass, many times they come in love with the Mass. And so our goal here in Mexico is to be able to serve more faithful here, in not only in the apostolates where we are, but even the possibility of opening more apostolates in other parts of the country, as we have had many requests. And we are very limited, since there are only 3 of us at this point able to attend to all of these people. So our hope is that in this new facility we'll be able to begin the training and formation of new priests for the work here in Mexico.
My name is Father Daniel Heenan of the Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter, and I'd like to welcome you to the future home of the FSSP in Mexico. This new house represents a great step forward for the apostolate in Mexico. We've seen a lot of growth in recent years, and we're very excited to be able to move to this beautiful new house that contains a chapel, classrooms for catechesis, and formation of our faithful.
My name is Father Jonathan Romanovski, priest of the Fraternity of St. Peter. I've been assigned to the Fraternity's Apostolate in Mexico since its inception in 2008. It's been a great pleasure to be here. Ever since my first visits as a pilgrim visiting Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Cristero shrines, I noticed a great sense of traditional devotion that still lives amongst the people. That people generally kneel before our Blessed Lord, that nobody receives Holy Communion in the hand. And I always thought that it would be fertile ground to reintroduce the traditional Latin Mass, as they still have the traditional spirit in terms of their devotions. I remember one lady, after having assisted for a month at our Mass, said, "I'm not exactly sure why it's in Latin or why the priest is facing the other way, but I'm just sure that that's the way it's supposed to be." So the traditional sentiments resounded in her traditional Catholic Mexican heart. And so since in the last 7 years, we've been able to grow as an apostolate, attracting new families, the more conservative families who want to live that traditional sense of devotion and to receive the traditional catechesis of the Catholic faith.
The development of this new house of the FSSP, we've divided into 4 phases. So at first, and most immediately when we move here, we'll be able to have more pastoral activities here in this house. Because where we are situated now is we're in the center of town, and the ambience is not very family friendly. And so it's difficult to have events there, especially catechism with the children. We're surrounded by bars. Especially at night, they make a lot of noise, and even celebrating Mass, the dance music comes in and is audible inside the church. So we're very happy to have a place where we can, is more family-friendly, a better neighborhood for our parish activities. This summer, this new house will host the St. Junipero Serra Institute, which will be a school for priests and seminarians from the United States to come and learn Spanish, recognizing that in the United States there's a great need for Hispanic ministry. Many people from all over Latin America are coming, and unfortunately are losing their faith when they arrive in the United States. And so it's very important that priests working there are able to minister and preach in Spanish. And so we hope to invite a number of seminarians, both from the fraternity and from diocese, to come and spend a summer here in Guadalajara and learn about the culture here in Mexico, and also learn Spanish. And then ultimately, in the long run, we hope that this house will one day become a house of formation for the fraternity. So currently the Fraternity of St. Peter has a seminary in Germany where one can study in French or in German. And then we have Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary in Nebraska, where studies can be done in English. And although Spanish is the language spoken by more Catholics than any other in the world, the fraternity is yet to open a house of formation for Spanish-speaking aspirants for the priesthood. And so our hope is that in 3 years' time, we can develop this house into a first-year house of formation, a novitiate, so to speak, where men would spend a year here taking their first year of classes and preparing themselves through the study of English and the other classes that first-year seminaries take, so that then they could go to Nebraska or to Germany to continue their formation for the priesthood. So we're very grateful for all the support we've received from our benefactors, and we invite you to join us in this very important new project, a new missionary effort to rekindle the faith in Latin America and to bring the richness of Catholic tradition back to the Spanish-speaking world.